Bow, bow.
Bow, bow. Welcome, people of the world. It is Reap the Harvest Live. We've got the Vincent brothers, the world famous all-American heroes with us today. We're going to kick into the intro and we'll be right back with a historic Reap the Harvest Live on Friday. In the mix, Vincent Brothers with Matt Tack. How's it going, boys?
That's how we do it, man.
I'm better now.
We got it now,
for sure.
What's up, fellas? So, we were talking to Pat. You had dove in the other day. So happy to have you on. Super excited to talk with you guys. I figured I told you I'm a junkie for self-development. I know that you guys we
don't develop anything.
A lot of value and a lot of content. And then I got a side hustle in real estate. You guys, what I love about you guys, and I'm just going to start it off, is that you guys don't take yourself too seriously. Neither do I. So that's what it's all about, man. Just being, doing your thing and having fun while you're doing it. But I love your business model, your business plan. You guys actually came to my mind. I was flying probably about a month ago. I was flying. I got on the plane and I was thinking to myself, and I'm like, dude, if this plane went down right now, my wife knows about maybe 10% of where the money is.
Yeah.
And that's probably a poor way to live. I was like, uh-oh. And so I just told her with the life insurance policies real quick. And I was like, hey, if this plane goes down, I just want to let you know at least where my life insurance policies are so you can go get them. But that's how you guys bring a lot of value to that front.
Death. Everyone thinks of us at death time. That's a lot of fun.
You never want to get to the point where you're about to die and there's just shit tons of money all over the place and I got to get somebody to kind of pull that together for me. So it's better to be proactive than reactive about that stuff, and that's what Vincent Esquire is all about. So happy to have you guys. If you guys could just kind of give us a little briefing. I know you probably have done this a decent amount, but give us a briefing, kind of like where you started and kind of how you got here. How did you come up with the model of Vincent Esquire? How did you guys come together? Paul, I'll let you go first, and then Adam, you can chime in too.
Sure.
Okay. Cool, man. Thanks a lot for having us. This is fun. We like filling people's feeds with nonsense. So this would be better than what we usually do, but we're pumped to be here. So Adam and I, you may know, we're brothers and not married. And we always kind of planned on working together. So almost 5 years ago, we had a buddy doing these weird real estate transactions in the tax lien space. And we've been hugged by our mother far too many times. So we always thought we'd run our own show, overly confident. And the opportunity came because this buddy of mine had a huge client buying like several hundred tax liens up where we live. And he's like, hey, they might close on this. If they do, you have any interest? We're like, yeah, sure. And I had been at my old firm for 6 or 7 years. And he ended up calling like 2 months later. And he's like, hey, it's a go. Like, how serious are you? And then Adam, who'd only been a lawyer for about a year at that point, we spent about 20 minutes thinking about it. And then we're like, fuck it, let's do it. So, so that's pretty much as much thought went into it right there. Yeah. And then from there, we've been, figuring out over the first 5 years, you run your business, you're like desperate for X years and less desperate. And then now we're just a little desperate. And, but we refined a lot what we like doing and how we like helping people. And we're where we are today. And I'll let Adam kind of take over from there.
Yeah, that's basically it. As far as starting the business, I'll just say, one of the things that I think was helpful, although not necessarily planned, is just having a real preconceived notion about how our path would go. I think a lot of people get tied up on that, and then things don't work out, or it's not fitting or working right, or that sort of thing. when we became lawyers, we were at a general practice place for a while, but we knew we didn't want to do that. That was the general idea. But, as far as like where that would take us, we figured we'll kind of figure it out as we go. So I was actually going to be a teacher. And then Paul went to law school and I taught for a while. You guys remember if you took a first year English class in college,
sucked.
The one you remember. So I was doing that and it was enjoyable, but it wasn't all I wanted to do with my life. So I kind of said, hey, it doesn't close all the doors. I can teach in law school if that's what I want to do. But I can get a little more practical experience and help people more hands-on and that sort of thing. So, and I didn't know anything about how law firms work or really that much about the law.
Not at all.
Before you get in.
Yeah, but, not at all. Yeah.
But, we grew up in a small town, didn't know lawyers or, intern with any or anything like that. So anyway, kind of didn't really have a definite plan. But anyway, it was, but I think that's a helpful mindset is just, you're going to work hard. You're going to, be malleable some way and adjust and keep your head down and figure it out. So, I think that was helpful. That not necessarily, like I said, by design, but I think that's one thing that's been helpful for us is being able to be willing to change course, to pursue new things. So like real estate was how it kind of jumped off, but we've moved away from that foreclosure part of law and are getting in more transactional and syndications and things like that. So some other things that, and part of that is just because we were curious and we're looking for any opportunities. And then when we saw good ones, we chased them down and we've been able to, like Paul said, kind of pick the stuff we like doing. And I think that's an important part of being happy in your job and being happy while you're helping people. So
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. My wife's actually an attorney. She's a criminal.
Oh, God bless her. Oh, yeah. Really? Sweet. Good for her.
Criminal attorney.
She represents guys like all of us.
That's right. Me tonight.
I'm trying to get her out though. I'm trying to bring her on the good side. So we've had some discussions. She's actually, we talked about this as I'm a big believer in multiple sources of income, obviously, as probably you guys are. And I was like, I want somebody else to just sell my property so I can bring that 2.5%
all day. Yeah, sweet.
So I had her get her real estate license too. So she's a realtor now too. And trying to develop in some of the transactional pieces, but yeah, it's been fun. But that's the cool thing about real estate and law is that they kind of that when they come together, when you come out of law school, you kind of got to pick, right? It's probably and it's where you intern with or who you interned with and who is really kind of where you go. She actually did an internship with the DOJ. We lived in DC for a while and then ultimately moved down to Florida where she now participates and is a staff attorney there. But real estate wasn't an option. It was for me. I kind of that was my story. I just kind of gravitated. It was one day, it was a hard cutoff and I went into real estate. But I'm trying to kind of pull her on the good side, pull her within the trends of the company. A couple companies that I have to get more integrated. But
she can be our Florida lawyer. We always need a good Florida lawyer. So
everybody needs a good lawyer.
Yeah, we're always looking.
She's way smarter than me too, so that'd be a good thing.
Also,
yeah, man.
But I do need to talk about. So I was talking to Adam about this little pre-show. I had no idea. So I was telling Pat, I was like, "Hey man, we got to get on the Vincent brothers. It'd be good to get on the show." And I think they bring a lot of value. Obviously, I've seen some of your content. I think I was an early adopter, maybe to one of your podcasts.
Dude, you were the first guy. You were the first guy that wasn't a family member that said they listened to our podcast.
First admitted listener.
First admitted. Yeah.
I am a learner.
In Tampa, you told us in Tampa.
That's cool.
What's that?
In November, you told us in Tampa.
Yeah, that was insane. I was like, dude, I remember those guys. You guys bring out a lot of content. But I asked Pat, I'm like, we got to get them on. He's like, bro, they are the most all-American guys you possibly can.
Dude, where's the
I
flag?
didn't even know that was in your bio.
Where's my flag? Like,
Bring it around.
It's like there's so much going on online, and we all talk about this, and it's just like guys like us, we focus on our niche and we focus on growing our community and serving people and stuff like that. And, we follow people that are like-minded. So it's like I actually reduced my friend count by like 2,500 people because I only want people that are fitting in that mindset. So anyone that I'm actually friends with on Facebook, it's like, I want that to go with the trajectory that I'm on. And that's towards success or towards goals or towards, growth or whatever I need to be doing in a day. That's what I want coming across my news feed. And I think that the more we control, and I think that Mr. Dealmaker, Mr. DM calls that thought auditing. Like if you're constantly being, bombarded with good stuff and positive stuff, and you're downloading great information, you're clearly going to have great thoughts and a positive outlook and a success mindset, because that's what you're exposing yourself to constantly. And so I think that there's a lot behind that in whatever profession you're in. You want to be a famous viral comedian like Pat Hilton, or you want to be the best lawyer or a commercial real estate person, it doesn't matter. If you're downloading the wrong information, it's just like a diet for your brain. If it's bad, you're going to have bad output at the same time.
For sure.
Yeah. I was actually just listening to the Compound Effect just yesterday. And one of the later chapters, that's exactly what he says, is having the positive things, like cut out negative things that aren't taking you to where you want to go. And, there's a lot of stuff out there that wants to get in your ear, and you really have to be purposeful about it, though, especially with technology in these days and ads and clicks and all that sort of thing. You got to be purposeful about weeding out the screen time if it's not helpful and all that sort of thing. So yeah, just listen to that just yesterday. I think it's really important.
Yeah, we were having, I was having actually lunch with a young man. We're actually going to bring him on the team, and we're going to mentor him. He's actually going to UF. He's going to their master's real estate business administration. So real good school. But I was telling him some of the similar things. But I wanted to ask you guys specifically a question, because it's helped me out. I don't know if it's helped you out, and I'd love to kind of dialogue about that. But I always told myself I was never a runner, right? I'm like, oh, I don't like running. It's just not my thing. But what I found is that I'm a bit habit stacker. So when I get up in the morning, I go through my systems. And so I have about 5 different systems I go through before I hit, 6 o'clock. I'm trying to learn Spanish, and there's a number of things. So I have
muy bien.
Yeah.
I don't know Spanish.
There's a certain amount of systems, but running is one of them. So about every day I run at least a mile, but I've incorporated about 4 miles of run
That's great
throughout the day. But so with 2 things there, right, that are in this. Number one, you guys were all American runners. No wonder why you're all American. You guys were all American runners. And then, like, how has that developed maybe a cognitive mindset for you guys to develop and strengthen your business, or has it? Maybe it hasn't. Is that something kind of that brought some maybe systems in place, and you running? I know has been a strength for me and really kind of given me a cognitive mindset. But Adam, talk on that a little bit, maybe.
Sure.
And then we'll go over to Paul.
Yeah. I think biggest thing, you started it. I mean, the best advice I got in running is just left foot, right foot, which is our high school kind of crusty high school coach, is just get out there and run and do it. And yeah, you build up strength and you eventually become something. But I do think, I look back and in college it was great because it was a schedule every day. We did it for a couple hours. And I think about, like, if I didn't have running and track and cross country, what would I have been doing with that time? Probably just wasting it as a useless person. So at least I was on a team. I was pursuing some goals and doing some things. And the other thing I think is and this is important, I now usually have an earpiece in, like listening to a book or maybe some music. But back then I would run for a really long amount of time in the quiet, just thinking to myself about things, especially as a young person. I think that was a very valuable thing, very helpful thing. As a young person, spend so much time just on some back road in the middle of Ohio, with your thoughts and I think that's a huge part, a huge valuable thing that you can get out of running. So occasionally leave the headphones home when you're doing that is some good advice, I think, for folks. But yeah, it was a really, really important part of growing up and where we got to. What do you think, Paul?
It's funny you ask. Yeah, so I think the one big benefit that came out for me when I look back is it really raised my discomfort threshold. Like, if you can, run fast or slow, any amount of miles more than you did the day before, like, you are increasing your threshold of uncomfortable things. So for me, Like if it's, in Ohio, it gets down to negative 70,000 degrees and you got to go run 10 miles. Like if you can do that, right, you can go to a networking event and go meet a stranger, or you can do some other kind of health focused activity. So for me, it just, I think, increased my ability to eat like hard things, crappy, eat the turd, like Gary Vee always says. You got to do that for a while, and that's probably been the biggest benefit is if you can figure out how to deal with that discomfort, you can figure out how to deal with anything. And that goes with running, but that goes with everything that's hard, right? It's like, starting a business, looking back now, we were naive, so it was a little easier back then, but it would be a lot easier today than it was before, just because we did take that left foot, right foot, got it rolling. Right. And I think another good analogy for that is getting on the damn internet and doing a live video. Like you're a really bad runner when you first start, because everything's practice, and our videos are still really bad, but they're less bad than they were when you started like 2 years ago.
I love it.
Yeah.
Man.
So it's just everything is practice, including running. And the same goes for starting a law firm or syndicating real estate, or running a podcast. So
that's super true. I was talking to somebody yesterday on a call, and sometimes it's funny you mentioned that. I'll be out walking and doing calls and stuff, and I'll find that sometimes in between I'll be walking for 25 minutes or 30 minutes, man. And I've got like my AirPods in, but nothing's playing. I'm not really listening to anything. And, I'm just thinking about stuff.
Yeah, that's huge.
Like taking notes down. It's like sometimes that in between time, you don't even realize it. It's quiet. I'm writing down notes or whatever I need to do for the day, or goals or whatever, or I got this great idea. And that usually happens during those like down times, those quiet times in the session or whatever. So
John Maxwell, be important. John Maxwell, I have in my phone from Zig Ziglar, but it's called Ziggy Time. I just put it at 9 p.m. But that's the reflection mode I try to go in. But that's so important, right? Even when you're running, just kind of just to hear your thoughts, because a lot of times we're just running, and we'll put left foot, right foot, but we never sit and just really think of our thoughts and what's actually going through our mind. But that's awesome. I actually wanted to bring out too the reflection point, but then also discomfort. I was thinking of this really in depth. When I actually had to go back to Michigan, I had to go back for a set of apartments. We were transitioning a property management company. And one thing I do for level of discomfort in the mornings is cold showers. So I take cold showers in the morning, but I take cold showers in Florida, which is a lot different cold showers in Michigan.
Yeah, that's right.
So I turned on the water in Michigan, and my hands started turning purple. And I'm doing a what's the dude like I did like a Ric Flair. I'm like, woo! Oh
yeah,
like this bringing cold.
Yeah, man.
But the level of discomfort is like, that's important, right? Just I try to do that every morning, as far as I want to make sure I immediately get to a level of discomfort. So I got that. That was a little Tony Robbins trait that he taught me. Get into some cold water. Not for everybody. If you have an underlying heart condition, don't hop into a cold shower.
Yeah, don't do that.
Especially in Michigan or Ohio, where these guys are from.
My discomfort threshold in the morning is like whether I put cream in my coffee. That's about it. I'm not taking a cold shower. No thanks.
Oh man.
Yeah, a lot of people do rave about that, though. I have seen that one on Instagram a lot lately. But hey, different stuff works for different people. It's doing something. I try to do like 1% more every day. Sometimes I have my backtracking days, but for the most part, it's like where I'm at now. Like I got my own little studio and stuff. 5 years ago, I was in the corner of a 1-bedroom apartment in California. We could barely afford the rent. And I was making funny songs for Grant Cardone, trying to get on entrepreneur gigs for free.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Fortunately, people in this space, I call it the entrepreneur space, but are very responsive to someone who, like you said, is actually taking action. Well, at least this guy's doing something. Let's share the video and see what people think. Let's give him the gig and see what people think. That's how I met Gary Vee too. I'm glad you brought up Gary, because I made a bunch of funny tunes for like Gary Vee's Instagram like 6 or 7 years ago, and I ended up performing at a bunch of book release parties for him when the Ask Gary Vee book came out.
Wow, really, dude? Sweet.
Just because I
That's
took
awesome.
action and made some funny tune for him, and he's like, dude, stop by the event, bring your speaker and jam.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay. There were like thousands of people were there to meet Gary Vee. I mean, it's not like I wasn't the focus, but it was just a great in.
Yeah.
And that comes from taking action.
Yep. Well, one thing I think if you do this for long enough and you stick to it long enough is you got to figure out how to shuffle your way to the top, right? So for you, it was super unique that you even went live because nobody was doing it back then. Now everybody's doing live, so then you gotta use a StreamYard link and make it look nice so it actually draws out, and it's gonna be wild to seeing how different it gets, going forward.
Totally.
So I want to ask you guys just a few different questions. I want to ask you one entrepreneurship question, and then I want to dive real quick, and you can kind of give us top 3 things that you would recommend to people before they die, right? Before they get to so
Matt's really going to the grader here.
It's a Friday, bro.
With building onto that level of like kind of discomfort, I'll tell you right now, we've hit a couple hurdles and roadblocks of like significant deals that we expected about 150 grand within our total revenue pipeline. That a lot of it got taken away this week, and you're like, oh my gosh, Terry Summers said something. I quit yesterday, but then I remembered the purpose of what drives me. And I'm back into it. You know what I mean?
I love Terry.
As an entrepreneur, we got slammed. We're still trying to put it together, but we got hit with a $150 spread, $150,000 spread. And we're like, how do we make this 2 lots, 3 lots? We're getting a survey. We're trying to put all these things together. And then we just got hit with another 10K beef. Somebody backed out of the contract and we're trying to get back in that. So you just get punched, right? And it's that Mike Tyson. What's that Mike Tyson quote? It's not
everybody's got a plan till they get hit.
Till they got hit.
Punch to the face, right? Yeah.
So, from an entrepreneurship standpoint, I'm sure you guys went through some hurdles. Can you talk to a point kind of like what you did? What you fell into maybe some valleys or some obstacles, and how did you break through those? And then ultimately kind of where you are today. So, Paul, we'll let you start. Adam, you chime in, and then we'll head into that second layer question.
For me, I think one of the most important things in doing anything is setting expectations. So, when we first started, we fell into this giant, lump of work and didn't really have to do much to get paid. And then that work eventually started drying up, and then we immediately saw like, holy cow. We need to start marketing and networking and getting out there. So we didn't we didn't know any better, but I think what's important in getting into a deep valley or hitting up, or heading up and doing things well is like setting expectations that the deep valley isn't that deep and you'll get through the other side. But 2, you got to understand that it's going to take work to get out of that, and you have to figure out how to do that. So for me, I think having reasonable expectations and trying to spend time figuring out what those are is an important piece to doing things well and getting through the dog shit that inevitably happens, like 150K in a week. I mean, that's
right. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's funny you said expectations. That was the first word that came to my mind. Is in
your face?
Because these guys apparently spend a lot of time together.
That's right.
No, and just like setting those expectations is a real tough part, and sticking to them also. What Paul said, you start your business, and we were doing pretty well, and then when we did, that big client we had started drying up, then we had to adjust, and you can get mad about that fact that work started drying up, or you can just move on and do what you need to do. And I think it's easy to get pulled away and start feeling like you deserve something, or you've worked so hard, and somehow that changes things. When you stop and think about it, it's like, well, why should you expect that this is going to be easy, or that you're not going to occasionally get a punch? I mean, it is disappointing, certainly, but the cost of doing business is there's always going to be problems that arise, unexpected stuff, and that's the nature of business. And so you just have to have the right mindset. And it helps having partners involved that can kind of help you keep that positive mindset too and everything. Paul and I talk through things all the time, and that's helpful to just have somebody else be like, well, what are you gonna do about it? And then you're like, yeah, you know what? That's a good point. And then
that's awesome.
I think that finding a way to like pivot or adjust in those moments is important too.
Right.
Because that's something I've run into is, I started off in corporate audio out of college, and then I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to be a performer. So I had to figure out, well, how am I going to turn the skill into dollars? And that's the biggest challenge for like artists and entertainers is how do I make money doing this?
For sure. Right.
Or do I want to work at Circuit City? I don't even think Circuit City's around anymore.
It's not. I don't think so.
Right. And so that's part of the lesson.
You would have kept them open though, Pat. You would have kept them open.
It's like those safety nets, the safety of a job, it works for some people in certain industries, but it's not as safe as we all thought it was. And I think that's been exposed over the last 10 or 15 years, is that the safety net of well, if I just go get a job, I'll be okay. That may work in certain categories, but not all categories. And so I think I expected that my skill could produce something bigger than just a job could. So I was willing to make the sacrifices long-term to make that happen. But I found that, just music or just podcasting or just social media or just marketing, I got to put it all together. Mm-hmm. I can't just focus too much on one thing. I have to be good at all those things. Because while I might like to do certain things more than others, what does the industry need? What does the marketplace need? And how can I use my skills to service the need in the marketplace rather than to just try and do what I want and make everybody be a fan of that? Because at the end of the day, that's what I like to do. It's not necessarily what the market needs. And I think that as entertainers, or even just as business people, when you have a skill, it's important to assess how that skill is a solution for people rather than how that skill makes you happy. Because I'm all about being happy and following your dreams and pursuing your passions. I'm a big fanatic on that, but you also have to understand that how is your skill providing a solution for people, right, or you can't get paid doing it.
Set the expectations. Yeah. And you played, Gary Vee invited you, but it probably didn't start raining money the next day, right?
No, not at all.
Obviously that was a great moment and everything, but you also got to recognize, it takes time and there's momentum that has to be built up. So for sure.
Cool. So, hey guys, and Adam, I'm gonna let you start on this one. Paul, you chime in, but you guys obviously have a niche, and specifically, it's geared towards real estate investors, estate planning, and just being proactive, kind of with your investments. You also do. You build out PPMs. You do securities pieces too. Yeah,
Rivers,
right. So you do a little bit of everything across the board, but specifically, I'm a syndicator. So I'm in multiple syndications. I own obviously real estate in various areas of about 3 different states, going on 4. A number of different things, right? And I think what it comes down to, my wife and I have a great relationship. Like, we love each other. I love my wife beyond measure. But at the end of the day, it's not always something we talk about. Like, I'm a hustler. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I got 3 different businesses that I'm doing. She knows a little bit about it. I'm bringing her in a little bit, but she doesn't know everything, right? So at one point I get on a plane and I was like, if this thing goes down, she doesn't know much, right? What are some steps, if you could give top 3 steps to real estate investor, syndicator, of what that looks like, proactive planning before you kick the can?
Yeah. So let's see. So as far as your stuff goes, there are 2 ways to do that. If someone passes away and something is owned by that individual who's passed away, like you own your business interest, I presume, right? So you have interest in an LLC or a number of LLCs. Mm-hmm. Then that, if it doesn't handle it within the LLC, how that gets transferred, that would have to go to a probate court who oversees the transfer of that asset. Just like they have to oversee the transfer of like a bank account or a house or whatever it might be. And so you have to address that fact that, like, if you were to pass away, what would happen to that stuff? Well, if nothing happens to it within the organization, you can set up your business in certain ways where it can transfer to whomever you name, or it would have to go to the probate court, and that would go to a will if you have a will. And if you don't have a will, then you just follow what most states, at least Ohio, and the most states have state statutes that say first it goes to a wife, then to heirs, children, and then if not them, it branches out to the rest of the family or relations. And so anyway, so that'd be if you didn't have a will, then the court has to figure out what to do, and that's they just follow state law. But the important thing is just kind of sitting down and kind of getting an idea of what you have. Like you mentioned earlier that, like, you might have insurance policies, but if your spouse doesn't know where to find them, then it's a headache to try to figure that out, or it winds up in like an unclaimed fund, somewhere or something along those lines. And so you just got to the first thing is to organize what you have, get a good idea of that, get a file. You can get all the, there's worksheets and stuff you can put together, just to organize. So you know what you have. Then look at, how that's titled. There's a lot of non-probate ways to title things. Transfer on death or payable on death bank accounts are the most common people hear of, or in real estate, survivorship deeds. So that's how you could have things titled for personal things. And so you just have to sit down and figure out how things are titled, and then what's the route they can take to not have to be tied up in probate court and be at the mercy of whatever that means. There's, it can be chaotic, but most of all, it's just a lot of headache for everybody who survives you. If you leave that additional burden of not knowing what's going on, then somebody's got to sort all that out, and that's obviously not something people are looking to do. So the main thing is look at your business structure and then look at your will. You can do a healthcare power of attorney. The healthcare docs are important in Ohio. They have, the bar has put together some of those. You can do those. That's your living will, and which is about last directives, and your healthcare power of attorney. That gives, if you aren't able to speak for yourself, it gives your spouse or a trusted person the right to speak on your behalf. And then if you want to do durable power of attorneys, you can have those broad. You can limit them to specific business transactions or things like that. But powers of attorney in both business and then a power of attorney for healthcare. Those are the four we really recommend for everybody. Once you start getting in higher assets, then you start looking at tax planning and trusts and a little more complicated things. But if you don't have anything, today, this afternoon, start making plans. Because a lot of times it's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then 3 months passes and then you're like, oh, got to do it again. So, and 6 months, finally 6 months later, you finally talk.
My plane's going down. Oh no.
That's like 80% of people. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
but that's like 80% of people we talk to. It takes months and months to finally do it. And so do it yesterday.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Paul, you want to add anything there, man?
And Matt, this will be easy. Have your wife call, and we will tell her how she can get paid doing estate planning for Florida people. And then, practically speaking, you get an inventory sheet. Like, we could send one to you guys. We could post it to your page or whatever for anybody that's listening. But It's basically just have an inventory, and it's just got more stuff than you have. Probably it's more stuff, way more stuff than I have. And just by looking at the words and looking at the investment product or whatever it is, insurance, it'll give you a chance to be like, okay, your wife basically needs to know, or your family or whoever it is, if you're not married, needs to know, like, who is your insurance agent? So it's like, hey, Paul Vincent, something bad happens to him. He wrote down somewhere that Steve Smith is the insurance guy. So you at least just need to know where to start.
Yeah.
So practically get an inventory sheet together and go through that. The second, I think more important than even an inventory sheet, is a password app that will keep track of all your electronic data. That's where the big nightmare is, because the problem without having a password is that if you're not part of the bank account, or you're not part of the insurance or the healthcare or whatever it might be, you're not going to be able to make a call and be like, hey, I'm Paul's brother, or I'm Paul's wife.
Yeah, you're locked out at that point.
Yeah. So you need to use either Apple has a great, I think it's called like Key something. I can't remember what it is, but everybody's got a good password. There's an app for your phone, or there's an app on your web if you use Google Chrome, or if you use Safari or whatever it is. But you need to make sure your passwords. Yeah, you need to make sure your passwords are in good shape, because that's the biggest pain in the ass. Try to unlock, how to get into a number of things. So I think that would be good. And like Adam said, simple estate plans cover everybody. You can get super complex if you want to be nitpicky, but every billionaire, millionaire, pauper should have a simple estate plan. And when you go through that, it will prepare you for, the unlikely event something terrible happens. So.
Yeah, and I'll just add one last important thing. If people need more motivation, especially if you have minor kids, the conversation you have with your spouse is very important, and it's something you need to have. And outside of talking to a couple of boring estate lawyers, like you said, you just don't have these conversations. But as far as guardians and setting up a trust for the kids and who's in charge of those things, who are the trusted people you can put in those roles, that's an important element of a will, is that you name those people within the will, who would be a guardian, who would be a trustee for minor kids. So that's an important element of it too.
Yeah, I always tell people, and this is maybe part of the reason why, like, I just go for whatever, is because I'm like, I don't know how I made it till 21, but I'm living on borrowed time, you know? It's like any guy I feel like that makes it to 21, they're like, oh shoot, man, I made it to 21. Now it's just borrowed time. That's good. So I do want to ask one more question to dig a little bit deeper into that, because I know that there's truth and some validity to this, and I even would like to speak a little bit more articulately about this. But so there's a difference between obviously a living trust and then a will, and how do you obviously decipher those things, and then how do you stay out of probate for somebody that actually has some estates, they don't want it to be taken into probate? What is that first step not to be taken into probate? I think you guys kind of hit on that, but if just to dig in that a little bit more, Paul, if you want to take that, and Adam, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, sure. So assets transfer by either agreement, there's some sort of contractual obligation, like an insurance company has this beneficiary. So the insurance company says, hey, I agree to give this money to Matt's wife if he were to pass away, or by probate court. So the great majority of assets transfer by that contractual deal. The state legislatures have done a great job. Businesses have done a great job in making that possible. So like real estate, all real estate can transfer to that probate court. Cars can transfer, bank accounts can transfer, insurance products, financial products, almost any asset that you own can transfer without probate, but you have to do the couple of things. So the most important and the simplest way to stay out of probate court is to, like Adam had mentioned, have an inventory of your stuff, and then look at that stuff either on your own if you think you're sophisticated enough to understand if you can transfer it that way, or call a lawyer or a financial advisor, somebody that can walk you through that stuff. So staying out of probate court is really easy. The only time it ever happens is some weird article, like family owns paint, or a painting, or they forgot to transfer the car. Even for cars, at least in Ohio, and I'm sure in most other states, your spouse can just get the car transferred to their name by paying a few bucks at the DMV. So, but you have to first know what you have, and then yes or no on whether it can transfer without probate. And I can't think of anything right now that you can't set up to transfer probate. So.
Right. Yeah, like Paul said, it comes down to if it has a title, and that there's usually a contractual way or a way to get that transferred upon death. But there's obviously some stuff you don't have a title for, like collections or particular things, and if the family or folks around are arguing about who's that's supposed to go to, then that might be a reason that a court has to oversee it. But most things you can figure out in what they call non-probate transfers.
Yeah. And so, Adam mentioned earlier about like an LLC transfer. You want to make sure your operating agreement has some for that. So any listener that's using, that owns a business, or is thinking about owning a business, or has a spouse that owns a business, you want to make sure that there is a mechanism that their interest goes somewhere. Most times they're set up where, the other partner's going to pay some percent of the fair market value. But that gets super annoying. Or you may not want to, like Matt, your syndications where you own a piece, and the plan for the syndication is like long-term wealth, right? Mm-hmm. So you may not want, if you just bought a property at the value add stage and it's going to be worth, 30 or 40% more 5 years from now, you may not want your wife to own, your percent of the unpolished asset. You want her to either own it forever, so she enjoys the benefit of it, 20 years from now, mm-hmm. or it needs to be specified that, like, hey, you only want it transferred to her upon stabilization, or some other benchmark. So, these are just things you got to think about.
And that's the example there to illustrate is if there's nothing done, even if the company says, hey, we want to buy out this person's interest, they just died, and the agreement says upon death we have the option to buy you out, and we want to do that. Well, where does that money go is the issue, because it belonged to the person who's passed away. Well, that means it belongs to the estate, so which is something that has to go to the court.
It's not
the issue is not just who it goes to, but also the fact that it doesn't have to go to a probate court to transfer to that person. And if nothing's spelled out within the agreement, then the probate court has to oversee any transfer that is being held by the deceased person's estate. And so that's why it's important to get in there.
This is all great.
I didn't put you to sleep. You put yourself to sleep.
And really good stuff. But to kind of go back originally to the the purpose is, I'm a big believer beginning with the end in mind. I actually I wrote out like a eulogy for myself. It's kind of crazy. Wow. Beginning kind of with that end in mind is the mentality that I have, but this is literally planning for the end in mind, literally, right?
Matt's getting a little more.
Literally planning for the end in mind.
This guy really is on borrowed time.
So it's kind of crazy. I mean, I got the honor of doing the eulogy for my grandfather, and it made me kind of like my wheels started churning. Like when they put me 6 feet under, what do I want my somebody to say about me? So I think that's why I even do this, right? This is kind of just really, really good content for people to number one, just grab hold of. You don't need to know everything, but you need to know the person that does know everything, right? Or knows everything about that specific skill set that kind of Pat aforementioned. But guys, man, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your content. I love the content too, where you Adam was out of the office and you dressed up the chair, Paul. And you got his head.
Wasn't that so good?
There was a golf course one recently too that was phenomenal.
Yeah,
too.
we do.
You got some clever stuff out there. Some good stuff.
It's entertaining. It's entertaining because it's so poorly done. Kind of one of those things.
I'm a fan of it.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of it.
Hey, I want to blow Pat's mind. I know, with the belt buckle that I'm wearing right now.
Oh, there you go, baby.
I just took it off.
It doesn't get any more American than the Vincent brothers.
It doesn't get any more all American. Hey, well, guys, last question for you guys. Adam, tell us where the people can find you, where they can follow you, what your handle is, how they can reach out to you. Let them know.
I'm totally the social media guy. No, actually, Paul Vincent on Facebook. No, Vincent Esquire is our company name. So VincentEsquire.com or VincentESQ.com is our website. But probably Facebook is the easiest way to follow along and see these poorly produced videos.
It's good stuff.
Filling your Facebook feed.
There it is on the screen. VincentESQ.com, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice. Look at that. Very cool. Visit our website that I put together about 5 years ago in about 3 hours. So.
We should have.
GeoCities action, little GeoCities.
We did the Wix.
There you go. There you go.
So yeah, no, man, appreciate you guys having us on. And it's funny, Matt, you talk about that perspective of like talking about a eulogy or something. It's funny when you like our older brother, he was our best friend. He was, nicer than us and better looking and all that, but he passed away when he was only 34. And you do get not to continue down the weird world of morbidity, but
absolutely.
Like that totally changed it for us. That ended up happening maybe, he passed away in 2013. We opened up this shop in 2016, right, Adam? Yeah. And at that point, that's when it was like, what the hell are we doing here? And you hope that it's not like a close family, relative that passed away that kind of changed that perspective. But if you're lucky enough, get ahead of the game now to understand, like, you can be on a plane and shit can go sideways real fast. So I don't know where I'm going with that other than to suck the life out of
you just want to be prepared. It's just like we talked about earlier. And anything you're trying to do, you have to be prepared. And when you're not prepared or you're not putting in the work, then you get caught off guard or you don't get the right result for you or your family. So it kind of all ties together. All the entrepreneur guruisms end up being true in the end. It's like you get what you put in. So if you're focused, like with this result in mind, we just got a life insurance policy for our family a few months ago. I mean, every other person I know has had life insurance for like 10 years. I'm like the last person to get it, but we have it now, because I have 2 kids now too. She'll be 1 in November and another one that'll be 3 in November. So it's like, it's time to start preparing. If something happens to old man, I'm worth more dead than I am alive.
Yeah,
so
join the club.
If we want to go there, we might
join the club. What I think, what makes it hard to do things like insurance and estate planning and all that stuff is that you hope it's a total waste of money, right? So it's kind of like, well, it seems like I'll waste that money next year because, I'm not going to get run over by a car, or I'm not going to, whatever. So now it's hard. Yeah, the life insurance especially is like, you hope it's a total waste of money, but
it's something you got to think about, because we're at that point in life where we want to be prepared. So it's a kind of a selfless thing too. So it's a beautiful thing too. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday. Have a great weekend. Follow the Vincent brothers if you love America, success stories, and greatness. And we will see you next time.